Hey guys, what's up? This is Corey Shields from the Selling North Georgia podcast. Today we sat down with Caitlin Sharpe. She's the new director for Dalton Parks and Rec. We talked about some trails. We talked about esports. We talked about what they're doing to improve the parks that we already have. So stay tuned. It's a good one. So, Caitlin, you're pretty new to the role, right? Mm-hmm. Director. Mm-hmm. So when did you start and kind of where'd you come from and what were you facing when you got there?
Yeah, so this is month 2 for me. Mm-hmm. I started January 4th. So I guess I'm going on to month 3. But before I got here, I was the Parks and Rec Director for Katusa County. I did that for 3 years. And prior to that, I was in Rome. I grew up in Cartersville, went to college at Jacksonville State University. And when I graduated from Jacksonville, I thought, I'm going to be a camp director. So I'm going wherever I got to go to get this job. So I moved out to West Texas. And so I quickly realized, like, hey, I'm a Georgia girl. I need to get back home.
But wait, you said West Texas, like you were from West Texas. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
I moved out to West Texas.
Yeah, well, I hear that all the time. I usually hear, you don't have a southern drawl. You sound like you're from, mid, like Texas or Arkansas or something along those lines. But no, I grew up in Georgia. So, but when I was out in Texas, they kept saying, well, you do not sound like you're from Texas. So I don't have a home. But when I finally got back to Georgia, I landed in municipal parks and recreation. In college, I was like, this is not what I'm going to want to do. Mm-hmm. But it's just grown on me. And I've loved it. It's been something that I'm so grateful that I just fell into. So started in Columbia County, which is outside of Augusta, and was awesome to have that opportunity because it's one of the fastest growing counties in Georgia. So I really got to see recreation probably at the highest level. And so wanted to come back home, got a job in Rome, and just been in this North Georgia area, all in parks and recreation. But ultimately, my background is athletics. And so when I went to Katusa County is a very athletic-driven parks and rec department. So it really worked out. And Dalton was one of those places where you think down the road. So I'm fairly young to be the Parks and Rec Director for Dalton, and it was always kind of like a target area. If I can get there, I'm doing it right. And it just happened to work out pretty quickly. So, it landed here 2 months ago and just kind of hit the ground running. And I guess to answer your question, one of the first things that I've been trying to tackle really is just learning the parks, learning the community, really, and then just trying to figure out my staff. Sure. Those have been the biggest things.
And, one thing that's been on my mind since you and I have been going back and forth, what is the difference between a good Parks and Rec and, like, awesome? 'Cause you said the phrase high level a minute ago. Like, what is that exactly?
I think the difference between good and high level is just the efficiency of how your maintenance is running, how the upkeep of your parks and your facilities, and the engagement with the community. If you have a high level of engagement, you go to your parks probably around 6 o'clock and the walking trail's packed, you're doing something right. Sure. And so really it has to do with the systems in place, online registration, your website, just the interaction that you have, social media. I think that sets departments apart from one another.
So what metrics do you use? Like the number of baseball teams that register is one of the metrics that says, hey, you're doing a good job?
Yes, there's a lot. I would like to say that we're great at, like, tracking who's looking at our website. That would be one way in the past that I've tracked. Okay, look, we really have some engagement. The number of participants per sport, that's a great way to track if you're really providing the right service for your community. Economic growth. That's one thing that we look at on the weekends. How many tournaments are we bringing in? Are they using our facilities? Are they going elsewhere? So just along the lines of probably number of teams, participants, and just website tracking.
Whenever, you mentioned like a walking trail, having it packed out, like what would you guys be doing to make that sort of thing happen if it wasn't already?
Some people don't know about some of our facilities. And that goes back, and you're going to hear me talk about the website a lot because I just left a meeting talking about how we're going to get our website kind of up to 2022. But we have a trail called Mount Rachel that a lot of people don't know about, and it's it's a great, like, it's a cardio trail, but I rarely ever see anybody out there or a lot of people out there. And so just really getting the name out about the park and what it has to offer. Have y'all ever been to Raisin Woods?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's a great one. If you go there, we often see that's more of our highly used, I guess, parks and Hag Mill. And I think it's because people know about it.
Mm-hmm. So where's the trailhead for the Mount Rachel Trail?
I don't know my roads yet, guys. You don't want me telling you where to go. It's closer to downtown, though.
So let me help with the roads then.
Okay.
So you've got Crown Mill Village. Do you know where that is?
Yes, it's very close to that.
Okay,
I
so
can't tell you that.
there's a road that goes off, like straight off of Chattanooga Avenue. That's Chattanooga Avenue is the road that goes in front of the Crown Mill. Mm-hmm. There's a road that goes off of that called Judson. So,
Like if you go into the neighborhood, kind of.
that
Yes.
neighborhood across the street. So that Judson Street, first left is Factory. Next right is some street I can't remember, but there's a trailhead there.
Yes,
Is that about
that's
where that
Mount
is?
Rachel.
Okay, gotcha. Cool.
Yeah, so you'll see you have these odd pavilions, like the kind of the shape of the roof. So they're different. And a lot of people just go right by it because I don't think they realize there's a trail back there. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Would it work to maybe have improved signage? A big sign that says Mount Rachel Trailhead?
Yes, yes.
Signs are good.
Yeah.
Maybe
You're here. Yeah.
maybe at the Crown Mill it says, hey, turn right here for the trail.
I think
Right.
one thing, my second week here, I met with Steve Farrow, and his big thing is connecting the trails. And once we can finally get to that point of connecting trails, we'll see we'll see more people going out that way because it would go right to Mount Rachel.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Is Borough Park, is that the one downtown, the
Yes.
little space? Is anything coming up over there, like spring, summer?
Yeah, that's one of two projects that I've walked into. Burr Park's almost at the completion of the facility that they're building is almost done. And so I've really gotten to be a part of the cool stuff of like the planning, not the actual, planning of the events, not the having to figure out the fixtures that are going into the building. So I got to sit in a meeting and I wrote down who it is because I did not want to leave anybody out. But the DDDA does a lot of the scheduling of the events down there. We are mainly just facilitators. We make sure, there's a turf management plan. That we keep the facilities up to date and that we have somebody there when the events are happening. Now, the actual scheduling of the events go through DDDA. But for this summer, they have the summer concert series. Did y'all go to any of those last year? Sounds like a lot of fun. Even in Katusa County, we heard about them. And I had some staff that would actually come to Dalton to partake in it. Yeah. But so the DDDA, the CVB, Creative Arts Guild, and Community Foundation, they have, I think it's almost every Friday throughout the summer, they've got some kind of event going on.
Wow.
So. With
Awesome.
beer, and beer typically brings out a lot of people. So
helps.
yeah, music and beer, that's the way to go. We don't necessarily put on any of the events just yet, but now that there's a facility there, we'll partake a little bit more. Probably a lot of kids stuff. I like to put on events where there's free inflatables. So I always think a good event either has beer or free inflatables for people. So,
That's right.
Sure.
Yeah.
So do you have any, I guess, maybe crossover events, or what kind of things cause you to interact with the Whitfield County Rec Department?
So they play an interlocking schedule sometimes. So Whitfield County is almost a hub for departments that cannot form a full league. So when I say that, in Katusa County, we often would reach out to Whitfield and be like, look, we have about 14 girls who want to play 12U basketball. We don't want to turn them away. So we'd call Whitfield and can they play in your program? And they would let them. And so with the same with the city of Dalton, Whitfield County services so many more kids than what the city of Dalton does. And so there are some times we find ourselves in those situations of we don't want to turn these kids away. How do we form a team? And then Whitfield will, out of the goodness of their hearts, allow us to play an interlocking schedule with them. So that's often how Whitfield's very heavily sports oriented. And so mainly our interactions are facilities for sports or needing to put a team in somewhere.
So when you bring somebody to town, like the Softball Players Association, for example, do you have enough facilities in the city to take care of them, or is it a combination of city, county working together?
From what I understand, it's typically a city county, depending on, one thing about tournaments is it is watered down. And so you can throw a rock and you can find a tournament director who's going to try to put on a tournament on the weekend. One thing Whitfield County does really well is they're very selective of who uses their facilities. So let's say Whitfield County already has a tournament going on, but we've, as the city, have brought in another tournament director. If we don't have enough fields and Whitfield's booked up, we reach out to neighboring communities like Katusa County, Whitfield, and up in Chattanooga.
Yeah. So outside of sports for kids and that kind of thing, do you guys have any activities or programs for young professionals? And also, you mentioned esports on the website. What's going on there?
So for young professionals, we do a little bit, but that is one thing that I've really noticed is we need to build off of that. Pickleball. Have y'all ever played pickleball?
I have not.
Y'all, you gotta play some pickleball. It is one of those.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it's a crossover.
It's walking distance from your house, Corey.
I have no
Where
excuse.
do you live? You live? Oh well, you shouldn't probably say that on any type of internet.
I'll say my address.
Yeah,
Public info.
but near
He
a
lives in
pickleball
Brookwood.
court. Okay,
Yeah, he lives
over in
near a
that
pickleball
area.
court.
Rio Vista.
So on March 20th, we're not as the department, but there's going to be a pickleball tournament. You can just show up and play. Anybody, any skill level can come out there. It's called Knick Knack Paddywhack. It's put on by the Dalton area pickleball league. And I think they'll have a donation jar that it all goes to the Humane Society. But if you bring a knick-knack, something like dog food or some sort, it'll go to the Humane Society too. But I'm telling you, pickleball is one of the fastest growing sports. Every department I'm talking to, they're like, yeah, we're putting in more pickleball courts.
Are you any good?
No. Still learning. But I will tell you, we were at a meeting and somebody said, if you're really unathletic, you'll feel very athletic playing this. And I did not. So, but I highly recommend it. It's one of those things where you can go out with a group. You can be extremely competitive or very leisurely. And I think that it hits on all cylinders of all type of age groups, from super young, because we're doing them this summer for our youth clinic camps, all the way to it's like senior citizens are doing that. And it's just one of those things where it can engage all, like pretty much your whole community. And then esports. So Dalton, and I watched this from Katusa County. Dalton started an esports league. It was all in-house. Well, now GRPA, which is Georgia Parks and Recreation Association, or Georgia Recreation Parks Association, they have almost contracted, or they're promoting a partnership with GG Leagues, and GG Leagues runs a pretty official esports program, mainly up north. Like we started in Katusa County, and we had kids who were playing other kids in New York. So we're looking at partnering with GG Leagues just to make it a little bit more competitive, because right now we're not seeing a lot of participants in our esports. But once we do that, we're hoping that it'll bring them in, because at one point the goal is to play, our top Dalton player against Katusa County player, or
Sure.
all the way down south, and I guess in Glenn County or something like that.
So forgive me for pretending like the audience doesn't know anything, but define esports for us, please.
Yeah. So esports, it's anything that has to do with remote. They consider electronic sports to be a sport now, a sanctioned sport in GHSA, and it's interesting to watch. I don't know a lot about video games, but it's one of those things where recreation is about engaging everybody. It's not just about your bat and ball. And esports is just one avenue to hopefully rope that kid who's not necessarily getting out and being, I guess, social with outsiders or with other people. But we're trying to find what they like and engage them to be, I guess, active and social.
So when you say a remote, like my old Nintendo PlayStation doesn't count, but my Nintendo Wii does count, right?
I would assume so. So the great thing about GG Leagues, you partner with them and they run your program and they do it well. So it's not like somebody like me who has no idea about video games. It's somebody who comes in and actually regulates, like, here's structured rules, here's what you have, here's the game systems that you have to have in place. So that is a question I cannot answer.
The esports, again, I'm not an expert either, but I have a friend who watches that stuff from time to time.
Yeah.
Like on a grander scale. I don't know what the league is called. This guy here knows, but he doesn't have a microphone. But But no, like it is serious. Like if you watch it, like they got this whole studio and everything, and they've got these people who are the best in the world at whatever game they're playing. Overwatch, I think, is a popular one. If you were to see it, you would think like it would blow your mind how serious they take that.
Oh, it's extremely competitive. We had a fairly good turnout in Katusa the first time we offered it. The way that it works is you just sign up and you pretty much GG Leagues will reach out to you and say, hey, you're scheduled to participate at this time, and then they'll match you up with who you're competing against. And the few that signed up continue to return, so I think it was working.
So Academy Sports, they're a sponsor for the rec. Like how do they help exactly?
Academy Sports does a great job with just partnering with most Parks and Rec departments that reach out to them. And honestly, even if like if these are parent associations with which I worked with a lot in Katusa County, even if you're not necessarily a municipality, they partner. If you're providing any kind of service for youth, they'll find a way to partner with you. And Dalton has had this partnership for quite some time, but Academy will provide us with a small donation, which ultimately turns around and pays for our background checks for our volunteers. And then they offer a discounted rate to pretty much gear your players up for the season. And so if you have that coupon, which we put out on our social media, anybody can use it. But they can go to Academy and get their equipment for the upcoming season for a very small price. So,
Cool. Very cool.
yeah. And other departments, they have sometimes if your department, can't afford to provide coaches with coaches equipment, they'll also provide those coaching equipment for your coaches. So, yeah, they're very supportive.
So as far as the next 1 year, 2 year, like what sort of plans do you have in place, and what kind of goals do you have set up?
First and foremost, the goal will be to focus on facility improvements. There are a few places like playing surfaces that just really need some attention. We're working on putting together just a capital improvements list right now of what do we want to see done differently, and then how do we plan to maintain that to keep it up to par. I'm lucky I get to come work for a department where this DRPD has really produced and had some very strong recreation leaders, and they have put in some very trendy parks and trendy recreational, I guess. I don't know what the right word is, but like, have y'all been to, just to give you an example, have y'all been to John Davis? You have? So there are these small mini soccer pitch fields right behind the soccer field. They're a little worn down, and that is first on my list of hopefully something we're going to get fixed. But the director who installed those was just so forward thinking on the concept of it. It's a small soccer field. It's probably our most used facility. The walls are like water walls or dam walls to hold water back, and they're supposed to be like just you can't hurt them. And so our facilities see so much usage that they have been hurt, which is a great thing. That means our facilities are being used. But the ultimate goal within year 1 and year 2 is to have a very comprehensive plan of what this department needs to just get it back to where it was. GRPA or Dalton is very known in GRPA in the state of Georgia, and our name is not out there as much as it used to be, but I hope to see it get back to that point. And that's kind of the plan for year 1 and year 2.
So when people move to our area, we covered basically a 4-county area with Katusa, Whitfield, Murray, and Gordon. So somebody moves to our area and they live in Whitfield but want to be part of the Dalton Parks and Rec. So they're outside the zone, basically. How does a kid play in the city school system if they want to? Or not city school, but the city rec system, sorry.
Yeah. So we don't have school-based leagues. So if you're in Whitfield County, you're able to come and play in the city of Dalton.
Cool.
Yeah. So there's really no restrictions. Now, we have started, our baseball is now sanctioned with Little League. And we just started that this year. To participate within Little League competition tournaments, you have to live within Whitfield County for us. But that's the only restrictions that we really have.
Cool.
So is there anything that we could do, and I say we, like community-wise, do to kind of do our part in helping, get in the rec department where it needs to be?
I think just participation in our programs is one thing that I really hope to see increase, but that also falls on us in making sure that we're providing trendy programs.
Sure.
if you go to the parks every so often, you'll see a sign. It's called See Click Fix. I don't know if you've heard of that. So the Public Works Department implemented this, and it's a way for citizens just to say, hey, look, there's a pothole. Y'all got to get this covered or whatnot.
I was about to say, when you said See Click Fix, I was because I've actually heard about it from the Public Works part. I didn't know that the rec was involved in it too.
Yeah, when I first started, the IT director mentioned it to me, and I said, that would be really useful if there's something going on in a park and it's a weekend and we have no idea about it. We'll find out about it because we'll hear about it probably on Facebook. That's what I'm learning. But See Click Fix, as soon as you see an issue, you take a photo, you report it, and it comes straight to my phone or our office manager's phone, and then we assign it to either our maintenance supervisor or whoever's on call at that moment. And those reports will ultimately help us. Going back to the capital improvements list, if there's big issues, reoccurring issues, it's going to let me know, hey, this is what the community's really wanting to see. And then I guess the community just reach out. If there's things that you're seeing other communities do that you want to see here, I'm a go kind of person. So, like, if I hear about it and I think it's cool, I'm probably going to be knocking on my boss's, Andrew Parker's, door to be like, let's try it. So, I think just engagement, knowing what the community wants is ultimately what we need.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that we haven't covered that you might want to talk about?
Yes. So you asked about how does somebody get a tree dedicated to them at
Yes,
Civitan.
that is Carl's question. He is just dying to know.
Well, Carl, I'll let you in. So Jerome Key, who works for Public Works, he is the city's city arborist. He is the person to go to just to facilitate getting a tree dedicated over there or anywhere. He'll give you all the options of if you're at our parks. I mean, even over at Lakeshore in the tennis area, you have a couple of trees dedicated. A lot of people think of places that really relate to who they're dedicating the tree to. And so they'll talk to Jerome, and Jerome will make it happen. He's a good one. So,
awesome.
Yeah. If you need his number, I'll give it to you, okay?
Awesome. Oh, yeah. I guess, Michael, you got any questions bouncing around in that skull?
Well, we were talking earlier about park usage and that kind of thing, and so you said if you drive by at 6 o'clock and see how many people are on the trail, is there a way that we should maybe calculate how many people use the trail, or like is there some system that we were going to put in place to? This has
been like a Parks and Recreation question everywhere I've been. How can we figure out how many people are using your parks? I'm in a Facebook group, and that was one of those questions that popped up, and I started to follow it to see if there was anything creative that we haven't really thought of. One person suggested figuring out how many pings are going on at a cell phone tower, which I don't know if that's like an invasion of privacy, but
privacy's not a thing in the United States. Come on,
I know. What am I thinking? Sometimes people will staff people and just click and figure that out. In Columbia County, we actually put down the road where people would drive over it, and you could see how many people are coming in and out of your parks at that point. So I think that would probably be the best way to do it. It's just taking the time and finding somebody who's willing to sit there for a couple hours and click away. Yeah. And really, one thing that when I started this, when I went through the interview process, they did ask, what's going to be top of your list? And that was going to the parks on those those peak hours, which, sometimes in the morning, but mainly in the evenings, and trying to see how used it is. And I've been able to notice your more popular parks around here. Civitan 1 is extremely popular. And then the playground over at Lakeshore is probably always have somebody on it. So,
what do you think makes those so appealing?
Playgrounds. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our life group went to Heritage Point last Sunday, and we didn't have any room at the playground. It was packed. So it was sunny, 60 degrees, perfect day, right? So the playground was packed. So then we went to the side pavilion that's kind of on the way to the middle school. Nobody there. So we were able to have a picnic, and there's another little playground there, not quite as cool as the big one, but so yeah, that was another one on a Sunday afternoon. I don't know that you would normally think of that being a peak hour, but man, at 1 o'clock on Sunday, it was packed.
Yeah. Well, the weather, and that's what I talked to our maintenance about. I said, as soon as we see 65 and above, our playgrounds are going to be highly used. We got to keep an eye on them, and they do a great job. And kind of to go back to a little while ago, some of the directors had the forethought of coming up with these great playgrounds. And so at one point they were just the coolest things. And so we do know a lot of our playgrounds need some attention, but and Heritage is one that's on our list. But going from that really cool one to the small one, it's a hard adjustment, but we hope to see some kind of improvement of playgrounds over in that area.
Our kids had a great time and all took really good naps afterwards.
And that's all that matters, right?
That's right.
I think the coolest thing about playgrounds is just seeing how kids learn how to interact with just strangers. I took my nephews to a park down in Bartow County not too long ago, and they just started playing with kids they've never met before. So that's the great thing about playgrounds, and then parents really benefit once they're just exhausted. So.
That's right.
Win-win.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Caitlin, I appreciate you coming in. It's been good talking to you. If people want to reach out to you, what's the best way to get in contact?
You can call the office, and that would just be by Googling it, because I don't know the number off the top of my head.
We'll find it. We'll put it in the video. We got you.
So call the office if you want to chat. That's the best way right now to get in touch. We do hope to see through the website some way to just directly reach out to individual staff members quickly and when you need it. And then see Click Fix. That's probably the fastest way right now. I get those reports in like 2 seconds as soon as they're submitted. So
Which social platform are you guys most active on?
Facebook.
All right.
Well, awesome. Again, thank you so much. It's been good talking to you.
Thank you guys. Thank y'all.